It's time for some aliens.
Let's do it.
Hello, I'm Marcel.
And I'm Mrs Snakeworks. Here are all the boxes with miniatures inside we have to build. 5 boxes in total. The first box we shall delve into is a main game box, Aliens, Another Glorious Day in the Corps. Looking at the back of the box, we can see we have 7 human characters and 16 aliens to build. This should keep us busy.
Now we have a group games day coming up, where we plan to play the campaign system from this game, and I'm really looking forward to it. To get to the miniatures, we have to open the box, where we're greeted by a lot of other game-related stuff. The miniatures come on these plastic frames, also known in the miniature building hobby world as sprues. There are rather a lot of them in this box, and most appear to be for the aliens.
Aliens.
On a side note, Gundam kit builders, or Gunpla people, however you pronounce it, call them runners, I believe. We'll get around to doing our own Gundam on the channel one day. Let's start with the Colonial Marines. They come on this green sprue. They remind me of those green plastic army men you used to get. I wonder if they still exist. Here are the instructions to build the Marines. Luckily they don't look complicated, which is good. I actually like simple builds now. Is that because I'm getting old? To remove the pieces from the sprue, we use our tMArcel cutters. These are very good cutters and leave a nice clean cut. Now I keep hearing rumours that some sort of cutters known as God Hand cutters are meant to be the best cutters ever made. Have you ever heard of them? If you know what they are, let us all know in the comments below. Do we have to go to Japan to get some? The knife we're using today has some caked up super glue on the blade. This won't cut nicely at all, so we're going to have to replace it. To replace it, we have to unscrew the side panel and take it off. This reveals all the exciting internal gubbins, like the slider and extra blades. But don't tell Wesley Snipes.
There's only been one blade. There's only ever going to be one blade.
Recently, I saw Deadpool and Wolverine, and I thought it was rather mid, to be honest. I wasn't quite sure what all the fuss was about. What did you guys think of it? Overrated or wonderful?
So we take a nice new blade out of its rear and swap it for the dirty one in the front. The dirty one gets wrapped up and thrown away. I should probably have a sharp spin for them like they do in the hospital. And yes, I do have sharp spins at work. And actually they get pretty smelly because there are these like bits from the urine pots that we also put in them. You probably don't want to know that. Anyway, we then just screw the side back on and we are ready to rock.
Let's rock!
Now, eagle-eyed viewers will notice this isn't our usual Andy the Knife. I have no idea where Andy went. Maybe he was kidnapped. Anyway, our first Colonial Marine up will be Corporal Dwayne Hicks, shotgun fan.
I'd like to keep this handy for close encounters.
Heard that.
Using the knife, we tidy up the pieces as they come off the sprue, removing the mould lines or sprue attachment nubs. Sometimes we also like to bust out the files, but we find a knife can do the majority of the work. Here are all of the parts to build Hicks: a body, a head, a body, a base, a body, a head and an arm. These heads are tiny, so be careful you don't lose them when removing them from the sprue and cleaning up. Hicks has this little part where his shotgun arm attaches, but it's a bit too big. It leaves gaps, so we need to sort that out. Using our trusty cutters, we just chamfer the post a bit, making it a bit thinner and a bit shorter. We can now see the join is a lot better and we can move forwards. This is one of the reasons why I'm not one of the biggest fans of push-fit models. I always just end up removing the push-fit posts. Or is it pins or tabs? To glue our plastic parts together we need glue. So what we have here is some plastic glue, tMArcel glue. One is a thick glue, a gloopy glue, and the other glue is extra thin glue. Both glues are cement, so now we have our glue, we can start gluing. We apply a little of the thin glue to the parts we want to glue together and hold them for a little while to set. Hudson, how long do you think we have to hold these parts together for?
17 days.
Wrong. What about you, Burke? How long should we hold them together?
57 years.
Wrong again. The answer is just a few seconds. And here he is, the completed Corporal Dwayne Hicks miniature. I think he looks very good indeed. I love the shotgun holding pose. The next character we're going to build is probably the most famous character in all of the Alien movies. Jonesy the cat. No, I'm lying. It's Ellen Ripley.
You started this. Show me everything. I can handle myself.
Here are Ripley's bits all out on show for you. Base, body, head and gun. Only 4 pieces this time. I have no idea what sort of gun that is. Putting those together gives us this, an absolute classic. Ripley with her borrowed pulse rifle. Oh, apparently it's a pulse rifle.
Next up is the Colonial Marines Commanding Officer, Mr. Scott Gorman. How do I know his name is Scott? Well, it's on the instruction manual. Who's not a fan of Gorman anyway? Also on there are some other oddities we'll get to later.
Now listen up. I want this thing to go smooth and by the numbers.
Here are the parts for Gorman, not many. His base, his body and his little pistol holding hands. I can't see his head there. I think it might already be attached. Oh, there it is, on the hands. And here is Gorman, all assembled. He's looking a lot more confident than he does in the film. Also, does he ever wear his hat while holding his pistol? I'm sure he's wearing a bandage when he's using it in the movie. Anyway. Okay, so next up on the building block is probably Ripley's favourite character. Somebody who is good at surviving with no weapons and no training. Jonesy the cat. No, again, I'm lying. It's Rebecca Jordan, also known as Newt.
My name's Newt.
Here are the parts we need to assemble Newt. A base, which is almost as big as her body, and also an arm, a very small arm. Be careful you don't lose it when this piece is loose on the hobby table. Assembling Newt gives us this. Newt wearing a Marine's helmet, pulling her classic salute pose. Whose helmet was that she was wearing anyway? Also, I got it mixed up in my head as I was sure that when she saluted, that's when she said affirmative. But that was at a separate point in the movie. Anyway, it's another of the fan favourite Colonial Marines up next. Hicks.
Hudson, sir. He's Hicks.
Hudson. Alright then, so here are all of Hudson's pieces all laid out, ready for assembly. Again, we have a base, Hudson's body and his arm. You can see his left arm is holding what I think is the motion tracker, although isn't it a bit small? Assembling all of Hudson's bits gives us this wonderful representation of Mr. Bill Paxton, who is sadly no longer with us. Everyone loves Bill Paxton. So next up is yet another badass lady from the Aliens universe, Mrs. Jeanette Vasquez. There's probably Miss, I don't think she's married. Why is her first name Jeanette the same as her real life name? I don't know. I think that was laziness from the script writers.
I only need to know one thing. Where they are.
Here are all the body parts we need to build Mrs. Jeanette Vasquez. Vasquez? The base, her body, smart gun, and the Steadicam arm harness thing that Marcel could never figure out how it was attached as a kid. Putting those parts together gives us this, the best miniature version of Vasquez ever produced. Perhaps. It's going to be fun painting that banana, isn't it? Oh, I don't think that's supposed to be banana. It's going to be fun painting that bandana, isn't it? Why does she wear a bandana on her head? I don't know. Soak up the sweat?
Now, when I was a lad, people would often try to imitate the smart gun walk. People don't do it so much these days. Or maybe it was just our friend group. Next up, it's the coolest character, Mr. Jack Frost. His first name is actually Ricco.
Guess you don't like the cornbread either.
Here is Frost in his constituent parts, base, body, head and flamer. It looks a bit like a Warhammer flamer, doesn't it? Except with a different type of canister and a different barrel, so nothing like it really. Assembling all those parts gives us this fantastic Frost miniature. All the Marines seem to be looking to the side so far. Some of these poses I feel are getting a bit repetitive, but there's lots more to go as yet. With Frost built, all the Marines and characters from the main boxed game are complete. I think they all look splendid together, and I'm looking forward to getting to work on the next ones. So far, I would have to say my favourite sculpts are probably Vasquez and Gorman. Let us know which ones you're liking. Anyway, let's move on. This week, we have been mostly watching Alien Theory. He's made a wonderful video on the events prior to the new Alien Romulus movie. I strongly suggest going to give it a watch.
The lab doors swung open and Brooke entered, shocked. What have you done?
With the sprue empty of parts, we can throw it in the bin. Does anyone know a less wasteful use for these? Here are all the sprues for the aliens. There's 4 of these with 4 on each sprue, making 16. Yeah, I can do maths. Or math, if you're in America. Some people like close-ups of the sprues to see what's going down, so here it is just for you. These are made from a nice interesting black shiny plastic. Hopefully the paint will stick to it. The plan after we've built all these miniatures is to get them painted, but I feel that's going to be a huge undertaking. We'll probably have to do a piece here and a piece there.
Just have a mix, piece from here and a piece from there.
But the aliens, I suppose we could tackle all at once.
Here's the assembly guide for the aliens, also known as the instructions. Looks pretty straightforward, doesn't it? We can see that these aliens have optional head sculpts. For the sake of variety, we will try to have an even amount. For Alien A, we have 2 different head sculpts, one with its tongue out. I think this is the only difference. There are 4 sculpts of Alien A, and the first step involves the body, sides, and the heads. Attaching the heads to the sides gives us these. You can see we have used 1 of each head. Next up, we have the other side of the body. The back pipes were quite hard to clean up.
What is the name of those bagpipes that the aliens have? What are they for? Are they some sort of vent? Some sort of breathing apparatus? For hostile environments? I have no idea. Adding the other side gives us this. We're halfway done now. Next up, it's the bases. They all have tiny little alien toes on. Adding the aliens to the bases can be a little fiddly as the joints are small. Snoop Dogg would not be happy. Next up are the tails. Apparently these are all interchangeable, but they're all very similar to be honest. The tails were an absolute pain in the arse to attach as there wasn't much surface area for the glue. Also they like to lever themselves off, so we had to construct a drying rig for them. Also known as a big ball of blue tack. I always recommend having blue tack on standby for such occasions.
What type of tacker are you?
Next up, it's some pairs of arms. Apparently these are all interchangeable too. Putting those arms on gives us these, a standard pose for the aliens. That's Alien Sculpt A done. Now it's time for Alien Sculpt B. Let's go. Alien Sculpt B now, and these are the first parts we need. Heads and half bodies. Sticking those together gives us these. They look a lot like Sculpt A, don't they? Next up, it's the other body halves for Sculpt B. These remind me of a skiing pose. Do you think aliens can ski? Wierzbowskii! No, can ski, not Wierzbowskii. While out for a walk with Snakeworks Jr. the other day, one of these massive planes came over again. Someone told us it was a C5 Galaxy, and someone else said it was a something else or other. If you can tell what it is, let us all know in the comments below. Attaching the skiing halves gives us the bodies. We then have to find the correct bases for Sculpt B. We then attach those bodies to the bases, again with very small attachment points. Again, like Sculpt A, we need some tails. 4 tails. And here they are drying on our glue drying rack. We usually leave them on there for a good 15 minutes to half an hour to make sure they're dry. It's the only way to be sure.
It's the only way to be sure.
Another 4 pairs of arms now. without their arms, the aliens would be armless, wouldn't they? I'll get my coat.
With the arms attached, all the aliens' scalps bees are complete. Amusingly, when Snakeworks Jr. saw these, he thought they were dinosaurs. I don't think he's ready to watch the movies quite yet to see what they really are. Sculptsee's heads and half bodies now. Put these together and we have squatting aliens. We then have the other half of alien Sculptsee's bodies. Stick those on and these aliens are doing a sort of dancing step forward pose. What is my favourite type of dance? Oh, these are really difficult questions. I would say my favourite type of dance is whichever Snakeworks Jr. decides to do, because he is the best dancer these days.
Now, some people have said they enjoy my dancing in some of my videos, but sadly we don't get much of a chance to do it. We don't really have the space. Here are the bases for Alien Sculptsee. Here they are attached. Yet again, the attachment points are small. Another 4 wiggly sharp and segmented tails. Someone once told me the tip of the alien's tail is a stinger, but I always just assumed it was a sharp point, like a spear tip. What do you think it is? Stinger or stabber? Like the others, we let the aliens dry on their blue tack hive ball. When they're dry, the alien Sculptsees are finished. These aliens have the pose of when Jason Momoa was creeping up to Henry Cavill in that old picture you sometimes see. Would you like to see Jason Momoa or Henry Cavill in an alien movie?
It's time for the D next, Sculptee, my favourite sculpt. Again, there's 4 of these. First up, heads and body halves. Putting those parts together gives us these. We then have the other sides of the Ds. Attaching the other side of the bodies makes it look like they are lifting one leg to relieve themselves. Cutting the cheese, I think, is a phrase the cool kids use. As there are 4 aliens, there must be 4 accompanying bases, and here they are.
And yes, much like all the others, they have teeny tiny attachment points. Attaching those aliens to their bases gives us these. Next up, it's the 4 hooky curly tails. Did we decide if these are stingers or stabbers yet? This time we didn't film them on the blue tack drying rack, but here they are with the tails on. To finish these last aliens off, we need their arms. And here are all the aliens from the base game all assembled, attached to their bases and complete. There's 16 aliens in total, 4 of each of the sculpt. They took quite a long time to build, but I do think they look pretty good all together like this. This project took rather a long time. I could use the 17 days quote again, although I'd be better off using the 57 years one. But we've used both of those anyway, so we can't do it again. Anyway, next up we're doing this set. Where is it? Assets and Hazards. This is the front of the box, showing the contents. The back of the box tells us what's inside, just in case we didn't look at the picture on the front. I'm especially looking forward to building the Facehuggers and the Sentry guns. Apparently they look like elephants. Let's open the flaps and have a poke around inside. We can see there's some sprues and some paper products. Here's the sprue from the box. You get 2 of these, exactly the same. I'll linger on this shot for a few seconds so you can have a good nose about on the sprue. Have you seen everything you needed to see yet? Good, let's move on. The paper product inside was this, the instruction manual. All of these parts look quite easy to put together with minimal parts. Speaking of which, here are the crates finished. You don't even have to assemble these. There's 16 of these things. I don't know what they're for storing, but they do have a cool Weyland-Yutani logo on the side. They also had a big bastard mould line on them that obviously needed removing. I did the best I could, but after 5 or 6 it got very boring. So don't judge me, please. We're building the computers next. There's 6 computer bodies and 6 screens. They look like something we would have used at first school. Were they BBC Micros or Acorns or something? Again, after removing 564 mould lines and attaching the screens, we have these 6 hefty computational units. And I feel we need to paint them like the old computers we had at first school. Do you have any suggestions for what games could be being played on the screens? Whenever people say computer, I think of 2 things. The first is when Scotty talks to the computer in Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home.
Hello, computer.
Just use the keyboard.
The other time I hear computer, I think of the song by Kraftwerk, Computer Love.
Computer love.
Computer, da 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 da, computer, da 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 da. Bloody good tune that. Also, it was borrowed by the much, much worse band Coldplay. Ugh, can't stand Coldplay. Bloody awful. Kraftwerk beats Coldplay every day of the week, without a doubt. No shadow of a doubt, no doubt in my mind.
No doubt. No doubt in my mind.
Here we have some organic looking slits. These are egg halves. Assembling the halves gives us this, an egg, or 2 eggs. We then have what appears to be another 2 eggs worth of example halves. What?
Where are you looking? We then have what appears to be another 2 eggs worth of egg halves.
Okay, well, EG to me is example.
There's a G missing.
Okay, well then that's your fault.
That goes from egg to example, if you take away the G.
Yes, it does. Putting those together gives us these. Apparently, they are not identical to the previous ones though. Oh, next up we need it says coupe. I assume Mr. Snakeworks means couple of little pipes nests for our first eggs. Here they are attached to those pipes nest things.
Were those pipey nest things for the eggs in the original Alien, or did they just appear in Aliens onwards? I think I saw them in Resurrection too. The other 2 eggs need nests too. And here they are assembled. Although looking like the previous eggs, there's still another 2 eggs to assemble. Here they are in their nests. I tell you what, you can have 10 internet cookies if you can spot any differences between them at all. Computer. Another pair of egg parts now, but this time they're different. They're open. Here they are assembled. It's nice to have a bit of variation, even if it does just mean they're open or shut. And here are all the eggs we got in the box, all finished, built and assembled. There's 8 eggs in total. 6 closed that all look the same but apparently are not, and 2 open eggs. I recommend not sticking your face in to have a look. I once read that the alien egg, also now known as the ovomorph, was originally just going to have 1 slit in the top, but the producers at the time said it looked too much like a vagina, so they added the second cross slit. Now, on the subject of alien eggs, what comes out of them? Here we have the parts to make the 2 facehuggers, 2 body parts and 2 bases. Interestingly, they managed to sculpt in the little detail of the proboscis or ovipositor or whatever it's called.
Looks like love at first sight to me.
Here are the 2 facehuggers built and showing off their little ovipositors while having a spin on the solar rotating display device. These guys are going to be really fragile, so we will be doing our best to look after these.
It's just 1 tiny join at the tail. Very easy to break. Here are the bits to something I've been looking forward to building a lot, the Sentry guns. A scene that's only in the special edition, so some people haven't even seen it. We have the guns, the bases, and also an A and B indicator piece.
A and B gun tracking and firing. Multiple targets.
Here are the Sentry guns all finished and assembled, also parading themselves on our rotating stand. I wonder if a rotating base would have helped or hindered them in the movie. Also, They're a lot bigger than I always imagined them in my head. I always thought of them as quite small units, even though you can see Hudson and Vasquez standing next to them. It's weird how your mind makes things up, isn't it, sometimes? Holy f***ing shit, it just jumped off by itself.
Next up, another box. Ultimate Badasses. 10 internet cookies if you know who said that line in the movie. Also, our lights are doing weird things with the camera here. The back of the box shows us we have another 6 Colonial Marines to build now, and all 6 are apparently hard. Do you prefer your Marines hard or soft? Inside the box we have a fair amount of extra tat. We've got some cards, some more blue dice, the Marine sprue, some game playing pieces. There are also some expansion rules, the Marine assemble instructions, and of course a packet of that silica gel.
They always say do not eat on them. Why doesn't it just have poisonous or toxic written on it like everything else? It feels more like a test this way. Anyway, our first Marine from the next batch, hold on. The ultimate badasses is Mr. Apone, the top man.
Alright, sweethearts, you heard the man and you know the drill, assholes and elbows. Hudson, come here. Come here.
Here are all the parts we need to build Apone. We have a body, a base, and his head, which I think is chewing on a cigar. It didn't take long at all to build Apone, and this is what we ended up with. He's pointing at something. Any ideas what it could be? Now, as I just said, Apone's first name is Al. Do you think that's an abbreviation for something? Alan, perhaps? Alvin, maybe? Or it could even be Albert. Anyway, next up is someone who thinks maybe aliens don't even show up on infrared at all. Miss Cynthia Dietrich. Or is it Dietrich?
Maybe they don't show up on infrared at all.
Here are all the parts to build Dietrich. We have a base with her name on, her body, her head, and a flamer. I don't remember her carrying a flamer in the movie, but I don't really remember much of her in it at all, to be honest. Here we have Dietrich, all built and ready to flame the shit out of some filthy Xenos. Again, we have a looking to the side pose. Also, is it Dietrich or Dietrich? I can think of only 2 famous Cynthias in the world. Dietrich from Aliens, and Cynthia Rothrock, the old Kung Fu movie star.
Get them.
Right!
Hiya! Next up, it's Mr. 10 Frames, Private Tim Crowe. Blink, and you'll miss it. Or him.
Get on the running line! Yo!
Here are all the bits for Crowe, his base, his body, and his pulse rifle. Putting all those bits together gives us yet another sideways looking figure. Also, our tabletop version of Crowe already has more screen time than the one in the movie. Our next Marine is another of the smart gun toting Marines, Private Mark Drake, named after a duck. Maybe. Allegedly, I made that up. It's a lie. I'm sorry.
Okay, we have all Drake's bits all laid out. Body, base, gun, harness, and head. His head is tiny. Careful you don't lose it. Assembling Drake gives us a cool pose. This time he's looking to the right, and I appreciate that a lot.
Now, why didn't these smart gun operators wear helmets? Next up is a man whose name is impossible to spell, even for himself. Trever Wierzbowskii. Mr. Bowski comes in an interesting collection of bits. Aside from the normal base, this guy is split down the middle at the crotch. Wasn't that a scene in Terrifier? I've never seen that movie, so I can't comment. Let us all know if you have, though. With Mr. Bowski assembled, we have another forward-looking Marine, a nice bit of variation added to the Marine collection. What's the ratio now with people looking to the left? 3 to 1? Never mind. Anyway, next up it's everyone... Anyway, why does that keep falling off? Anyway, next up it's everyone's favourite okay guy, Mr. Carter Burke. He's a c***.
I'm Burke. Carter Burke. I work for the company. But don't let that fool you. I'm really an okay guy.
Only 2 bits to build Burke, a base and a body, a one piece. Putting the body on the base basically just stands him up. Probably the easiest miniature assembly ever. I quite like it like this, to be honest. He's not looking to the left, and he's also folding his arms like Run DMC.
With Bruce assembled, all of the Marines and company guys from the Ultimate Badasses set are complete. I think they all look really nice. Which one is your favourite from the set? I'm probably going to go with Drake.
That's the first expansion box built. I wonder what's up next.
I'm going to get it and show you.
It's actually this one. We're in the pipe 5x5.
Alright then, it's time to move on to the next box. We are in the pipe 5x5. It has the dropship logo on it. It is quite nice, isn't it? The back of the box gives us some gumph and shows us what minis are in the box. 2 more Marines and 4 nasty aliens, special ones. Inside the box we have all the usual stuff you would expect to see. Sprue cards, the sprue for the 2 Marines, another one of those poisonous packages, the sprue for the aliens, some more cards, what I think might be maps, an expansion rulebook, the assembly instructions, some pop-out tokens, and an additional game board. I think this is the events they run around in at the end.
Okay, so this time we have 2 Marines and another 4 aliens to build. This time let's start with the aliens. Here's the sprue for the alien miniatures. Like before, it's a weird glossy black plastic. The first alien from the box is the Scout. Here are all his bits, a lot more than a Marine gets. Here's the Scout all fully assembled. I'm not going to lie, but that tail was an absolute bastard to glue on in the right place. Actually, I think it would be a good idea to pin all the tails if you were to build some of these. But in the end, I do quite like this pose. It's a lot different to the previous aliens. I think this alien is based on that old alien photo you sometimes see dotted about on the internet. People don't like it for some reason.
The next alien type is the Skulker, and here are the parts for it, all 7 of them, including the base. Actually, it was 8, we forgot the tail. Building the Skulker gives us this fantastic alien miniature. I like the pose of this one, it reminds me of a big cat, like a lion or a tiger. Rah!
That's half the aliens built from this set already. We're working fast. These are the parts for the next alien miniature, the Guard. Again, coming in 7 parts, and we even remembered the tail this time. Here's the Guard all assembled. I like the pose on this one too, although it's a little generic I suppose. The forward-facing tail is cool though. It must be hard for a designer to pose aliens. How many variations of sneaking can you do really? The last of the aliens is the Brute. Isn't that a name for an American plastic container? Brute. Again, there are 7 parts. 007, like James Bond. Here's the Brute assembled. The pose reminds me a lot of the Calidus assassin pose, but kneeling instead of jumping, and a tail instead of a ponytail. So basically, just the arms out to the side then. With the Brute all assembled, all of our alien miniatures from this expansion box are now finished. There's one more special one to do, but you'll see that later. I think they look great all together. Which one of them is your favourite? With the aliens built, we can now move on to the 2 Marines. Here's the sprue for our next 2 Marines. It's a little square one this time. It's also made from that green plastic which I really like, for reasons unknown.
Not for reasons unknown, I told you.
Our first Marine from the pair will be Lady Gaga. I mean, Colette Ferro.
We're in the pipe, 5x5.
Ferris body bits are probably the smallest so far. She also has an optional part, a bare head or a helmeted head. Which head do you think we went with? If you guessed helmeted head, you would be right. We thought it might be fun to paint. I'm a big fan of big bulbous helmets. I like them shiny. Ferris here is standing in a cool pistol branding pose, even though it never once happens in the movie.
With the pilots built, we can move on to her assistant. Was he a quartermaster? Was he a whiz-op? I've no idea, but his name was Spunkmeyer, Mr. Daniel Spunkmeyer. Here we have the bits to build Mr. Spunkmeyer. A base, a body, a chest and 2 arms. With all those parts put together and assembled, we have this, the Spunkmeyer miniature, ready to go. Also, he's holding a pistol, which again I swear doesn't happen in the movie. I think he did hold a trolley handle though. With Spunkmeyer built, both of our Marines from the 5x5 expansion are finished, and also both are in poses which didn't happen in the movie. It doesn't matter though, as I think they look wonderful regardless. We're getting to the end of the project now. We've saved the best expansion until last, this one here. I think you'll like the contents of this one. I certainly did. So here's the box for our last expansion. This one's called Get Away From Her You Bitch, with bitch being censored. I think online they just refer to it as the Get Away From Her set. There's also a shadow of something on the cover. I wonder what that could be. The back of the box, like all the other boxes, has some lovely text indicating some quotes and the box contents. We can also see all the miniatures we have to build inside. This time, there's 5.
We're in the pipe, 5 by 5.
No, not a pipe. Miniatures.
Upon opening the box, we can see all the exciting things inside. We have more expansion rules, an assembly guide, another assembly guide, some maps, some board pieces and tokens, more pop-out tokens and board pieces, some clip things, another bag of poison, some more cards, another set of cards, yet another set of cards, another set of smaller cards, a black alien sprue, and a green marine sprue. A fair bit of content there.
There's quite a lot in this box. It's actually quite heavy too. The first miniature from the box we will tackle is the Alien Queen. Now, for some reason, the Queen always reminded me of one of the cows from the old I Can't Believe It's Not Butter TV advert. I think it's the way its snout bends to the side. I'll see if I can find it.
Can I do my song now?
I can't believe it's not butter.
Did you see the resemblance? Maybe it's just me. Anyway, let's get the Queen built. First up, we have the sprue. Now, to me, it doesn't look like there's enough bits to build the Queen, but I doubt they would have cocked up and not provided all the bits. Surely. Here are all the Queen's parts laid out, ready to be built. Her base, body bits, head bits, arm bits, tail bits, mouthpiece, and base bits. She's got massive feet. I hope none of you have a foot fetish or you'll get excited. I have no idea what movie that was, but I don't feel like I want to watch anymore. I'm sure a lot of you out there might be foot fans though. Mr. Queen is a big girl. We'll tackle her in sub-assemblies, a bit like my ex-girlfriend. The first bits comprise of the base, body halves and the head. After attaching the legs to her big old feet, we need to wait for it to dry before we can put the required pressure. Before we can put the required pressure on the glue to the other bit. Before we can put the required pressure on to glue the other body bits together. Did that even make sense? After it was dry, we were able to put the remaining parts on, giving us this. It turns out there were no missing parts after all, which is good. Doesn't she look fantastic? Also, it's really hard to light the black miniatures. They just don't want to show up on camera properly. Now, lighting and photographing finished miniatures is still something I struggle with from time to time. If you know of a good guide to take decent photos or footage of miniatures, then please let me know. Every day's a school day. So here's the sprue for the remaining miniatures. There's a few interesting things on here. I think we'll begin with the most famous name in chess, Bishop. Well, one version of him anyway. He's a robot, by the way.
I prefer the term artificial person myself.
There's 2 parts for Broken Bishop, the base and his broken body. Poor old Bishop. All you have to do is stick the body on the base and he's finished. Also, I kind of wish we'd used more glue. so it's seeped out of that gap, adding to the sloppy, wet effect going on. Oh well, we can sort that out at the paint phase, I guess. Also, is it just me, or does Bishop in that pose look like he should be going down a slide in a rubber ring? I think that would have made a fantastic scene in the movie. Anyway, we now have another revision of Bishop to build.
This version of Bishop also comes in two parts, a body and a base. Sticking Bishop to the base gives us this, a man pointing at his Game Boy screen. I wonder what's going on here. Did he finally complete Super Mario Land? Super Mario Land, I mean, I'm not sure I ever finished it, because as far as I can remember it was a long time ago. I don't think you could have saved it, and who had the time?
Also, that face does not look like Lance Henriksen to me. It looks more like Gozer or something. Next up is another version of Ripley, known as Enraged Ripley. There are a few parts to Enraged Ripley. A base, body, multiple weapons, and Newt's leg. It's not just Ripley, she's also carrying Newt. Putting all those bits together gives us Enraged Ripley. This is the scene from the end of the movie when she's torching the alien queen eggs. But why didn't she torch the actual queen too? You tell me. Just a few bullets at the queen might have helped a little? A couple perhaps? Maybe she ran out of them. Alright then, we now have one more miniature to build. A good one. The Power Loader.
Get away from her, you bitch!
As it's big like the queen we made earlier, we're going to be building the Power Loader in sub-assemblies. The first parts we need are these. Ripley's body, two weird seat things, a roll cage and the welding torch. Well, that's what I think it is. Putting those bits together gives us this. I didn't, however, glue the roll cage on, as I felt we might need easier access to Ripley's body for painting later. Thinking about it, we probably should have left her body separate too. Oh well, live and learn. The feet of the Power Loader are causing us some issues. We have parts 5 and 6 looking very similar. I can't tell if these are exactly the same or if they're sided. We're going to have to take a punt and guess. Here we have the parts for the Power Loader's legs. The feet, which we're unsure of which is which, and the inner and outer part of the loader legs. We then attach the loader to the base. I think we got the feet on the correct legs. It's standing straight, so I think we can move on. Here's where we're at now. We need to wait for the glue to dry on the feet before we start prodding and poking away with the arms. But don't want to rip it off the base accidentally, you know? You need a little patience sometimes when it comes to building kits. And I think Patience was a song by Take That. Maybe I should have used the Guns N' Roses song instead. All we need is just a little patience. Okay, so today's big question is, who's better? Take That or Guns N' Roses? Can't believe that's actually a question. Now, if you fancy coming to discuss old bands or anything else hobby related, then please feel free to come along and join us on our friendly Discord server, which is not behind a paywall. There's a link in the description below and one up here somewhere. We look forward to chatting to you there. These are the next pieces we need for our Power Loader. The arm parts. There's 2 arms, a hand and a pincer thing, what looks like a tiny ironing board and a sniper rifle bipod. I don't remember the Power Loader having a sniper rifle attachment. Oh well, let's just get it built. With the Power Loader complete, all the marine parts of that box are now finished. The Power Loader looks really cool, we just have to work out a decent way to paint the yellow. Please remind me to remove that massive mould line on the side of Ripley there. Leave me a message in the comments below or something. Now if you want to get your hands on your own Aliens Glorious Day in the Core set to miss mould lines on, then check out the link in the description below. Again, I'll put one up here for you.
Remember all those optional spare parts we got? Well, we removed them from the sprues and chucked them in our bits box. This one's made from an old ice cream tub.
I also have another huge bits box in the garage somewhere from a couple of years ago when we moved. I have nowhere to stick it, so it can stay there. But I do like bits boxes. I think they're good. Now, speaking of good, if you're enjoying this video, please consider liking it and subscribing to the channel. That means you, Daniel. If you are enjoying the content on the channel, then please consider joining us on Patreon, the link to which is in the description below, or up here somewhere. Or you could even become a channel member, which is all the rage these days.
While we put our paints away, which we didn't use, but oh well. I just want to give a big, massive, loving shout out to all of our channel members and patrons. Dan Yallop, Lee Blackley, Donald, Pinetree, Bob Zilla, Charles Marlowe, Andrew Marrington, Nick Ellingham, Bryson Bantams, Timbo, Sven V, and our newest member, SDKFZ Forge World. Thank you all so much for supporting us. If you want your name in lights and read out by me, Mrs Snakeworks, then you can sign up using the... Seriously, proofread this. If you want your name in lights and read out by me, Mrs Snakeworks, then you can sign up using any of the links in the description below. We love you all.
We really do. Alright then, without further ado, let's check out the finished Aliens, Another Glorious Day in the Corps and Expansions model collection, shall we? And here we are. All of the miniatures from all of those boxes are built and complete, ready for painting.
We had a great time building these and are really looking forward to using them in one of our Games Day sessions.
One day we will get around to painting them, but I don't think that will happen for quite a while.
If you're an Aliens fan, then I strongly suggest checking these sets out.
My favourite miniature is probably the power loader, of course.
Please let us know which miniatures were your favourites, and as always, thank you very much for watching.
Thanks, bye.
Love you, bye!